Well, good evening, everyone. Raise your hand and give a little wave if you can hear me right now. Oh, so wonderful. That is so fantastic. There are a lot of you joining. Know that right now you are all muted so that we can have conversation with so many of you in time to come, but we don't want to have so much conversation that voices can't be heard. So welcome to Christ Lutheran Church here in Blaine, and this is our second Zoom meeting. Happened first this morning, had a couple technical glitches, and who knows what will happen tonight, but so far so good. We have many people of who we will be joining with us tonight. We know one of the things that would be great is if you have a question or you have a comment, there is a chat button on the bottom of your screens. If you're using your smartphone, you might have to kind of tap your screen again and then hit that chat button. If you have a question or something like that, or a comment, or I know Joe Davis is going to be asking you to type some stuff in. We have Pastor Kent and Andrew Kane that are going to be watching those comments and those chats. And so tonight we're gonna again be together. This is one of many Zooms for us to stay connected during these times of social distancing, and not Chris and I are facing away from one another, and we're all trying to do our best for this social distancing, but also doing our best to try and stay connected with you, and for you all to stay connected with one another, knowing that we need each other and we need community, and that happens in so many different ways, shapes, and forms. So we're going to have a little song tonight. You can see Chris O'Brien is here with me, and again, we'll have a time of scripture and so forth. So we're first going to start out with a song of sanctuary. The song is Sanctuary, and if you know it, join in. Again, we'll center ourselves here on our faith and on God, and we'll move on from there. So don't worry if it's just you singing alone. Sing your heart out and let your voice be joined with all of the rest of ours in community and in praise.
I need grace because I'm an alto. So if you're a soprano, it might be a little low for you, but for you altos, you're going to jump up and down.
We'll love it.
Here we go. Lord, prepare me to be a sanctuary, pure and holy, tried and true. With thanksgiving, I'll be a living sanctuary for you. One more. We'll take it up a notch. Lord, prepare me to be a sanctuary, pure and holy, tried and true. With thanksgiving, I'll be a living sanctuary for you.
Amen. Well, we're going to cut over to some of our special off-site correspondence, if you will, of Andrew Kane and Pastor Kent. So let us cut over there, and they're going to join us.
Welcome to our remote studios in sunny Mexico.
We're in Mexico. You know, the cool thing about Mexico this time of year is the ocean breeze is right off the ocean, and you just have to look out for those waves behind you. And we are ready to dive in and be part of Christ Lutheran Church online. Yeah.
I'm sitting here on my trusty laptop in Mexico at the beach.
Yep.
If you're chatting things in the chat, I'll see them and I'll be able to relay them to Joe and Pastor Sarah over in our Zoom studios.
Pastor Sarah, am I right that it has been so long since you have heard a joke?
You are correct.
Oh, well, I just happen to have with me here at the beach, Holy Hilarity. So is there a page that you'd like me to turn to? Any number, pick a number.
27.
Page 27. There's only good jokes in this one. After the christening of his baby brother in church, a 3-year-old boy sobbed all the way home in the back seat of his car. His father asked him 3 times what was wrong. Finally, the boy replied, "That preacher said he wanted us brought up in a Christian home, and I wanted to stay with you guys."
Oh, ha, 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 ha.
Back to you, Pastor Sarah.
All right, back to us here in our CLC Zoom studio. We'll join you in a moment or two. You will see here and that we have Joe Davis.
Yeah, hey, how's it going? Beautiful, powerful people.
Everybody
Yeah.
wave at Joe. Again, you're muted, but wave to him. Good. So welcome. Thank you for being with us tonight. And we know that our plans for Lent were for all of you to be with us in person. And so a part of God's Spirit brings Joe with us tonight. So we'll just kick it over to you and the topic and the conversation for tonight.
Yeah. Well, first and foremost, I'm grateful to be here to still make this work. I know this is new for a lot of us, but there's a lot of newness that we're experiencing now. But I'm just grateful to be present with you all and still, ministering in this way and sharing space in this way. And, we've been talking a lot about stories. I'm a storyteller, a poet, musician, and artist, but primarily using all those mediums to tell stories. And so I've been thinking about what is the story of this time, of this era, and what does it look like to cultivate hope, a story of hope in a time of global pandemic. What does that really mean? What does that look like? What does that sound like? What does that feel like? And I definitely want to have space to affirm and validate whatever we're feeling in our bodies and in our spirits, right? I know people are feeling a multitude of different things. And I want to make sure that, we're allowing the space to tend to that, to listen to that, to process in whatever ways are needed, to really listen, because I think that there's something there for us to tend to. And so making sure we're doing that, we're giving ourselves the time and space, and yet we're still cultivating hope in the midst of all that we're processing, in the midst of all of these experiences.
Absolutely. That's just powerful and beautiful, and a message, right, that we all need is power and hope, and the hope that comes, I should say, the power that comes in being hopeful and being sustained by God's hope.
Yeah, something that's really been energizing me and just giving life to my spirit is being reminded that many of us are uniquely positioned to give hope, to share that hope from a place of abundance, because this is a time where people are in dire need of that hope. But as people of faith, we're rooted and grounded in a community. We have spiritual practices, right? We have a certain positionality that has gifted us and equipped us for such a time as this. And that reality just springs up from the depth of my soul, and just reminds me of this call that we have to share that hope from a place of abundance when others need that hope. And just staying connected to that. The one thing that's been coming to mind is, although we're practicing social distancing, how do we practice both social distancing and spiritual connectiveness at the same time? And ways that we can share that hope together as a community of faith to a world that needs it most.
And what for us tonight have you for us to think about that, or pray, or be curious about?
Yeah, so making more space for that curiosity and that wonder and that cultivation of stories. I've been thinking about, for me, what are my stories that have given me hope? I look at it from 2 places. One, I look at my personal stories that I've experienced, my lived experiences that have given me hope. Some of you all know my story as an artist, but for those of you who don't, one of the reasons why I became an artist was because as a child, my childhood was plagued with illness. And so I was severely ill as a child. I was hospitalized multiple times. One time I even passed out on the bathroom floor. I was rushed to the emergency room. I missed a lot of school. The doctors couldn't figure out what was going on. And I was diagnosed with what's called atopic dermatitis, or more commonly known as eczema. And it had inflamed my entire body from head to toe. My skin didn't protect me from outside infections. And this was throughout elementary school. But at that time, I'd already developed a practice of writing. And so for me, writing was a way of just imagining a new way of being in the world in spite of my circumstances. And so I was able to just, write about a way of being in a world where there was healing and there was wholeness and connectedness. And so I didn't realize it at the time, how powerful and transformative that was for me at a young age. But I carried that practice even as I got older. And so now it's like a central part of my life. But that for me is one story of hope where I feel like God blessed me to have art as a pathway to healing, as something that was therapeutic, as something that was empowering for me. And then I wanted to share that with others. And so that's why I'm a teaching artist, and why, I facilitate creative writing and performance workshops and try to share in that way so other people can also tap into that creative power that they have. So that for me is part of my personal story of hope. And then I'm thinking about collective stories of hope. And so I look back at my family, look back at my ancestors. Like my grandmother immigrated to the United States as a Jamaican immigrant with my mother and all her siblings. And, that was a rough journey for her, but she endured, and she's still here to this day. And then I think about even my ancestors and all that they had to endure. Just think about, we could just name it, just slavery and Jim Crow and other forms of racial discrimination throughout history. And yet the fact that I'm still here right now is a testament to the resilience that I've inherited from my ancestral lineage, from my family, right? What God has given us to be empowered, to endure, to survive, right? And I look at these stories and I can sit back and I can reflect and just count the many blessings and come from that place of abundance, right? There's an abundance of hope that I've lived from that I can more fully live into. And so my question is, what are your stories of hope that you have as individuals, like in your own lived experience? What are your stories of hope? And what are the stories of hope that you carry with you from your family and from your ancestors and those who came before you?
So we're hoping right now that you take some time in the chat function of Zoom to type your answers to that question. Type them, say one more time, Joe, the question that we're hoping people will answer.
And so thinking about hope in a time of global pandemic, what are your stories of hope that you've already experienced, that you can be reminded of and reflect on to propel you forward? What are your personal stories of hope, either as an individual or as part of a collective, part of your family, your ancestors, your community, whatever that collective looks like to you? To really just, in a few sentences, 2 or 3 sentences, if you're able to type that, and we'll turn to our friends who are, remotely connected, right? And they'll be able to read those aloud for us.
And even before, so we'll give you just kind of 10 seconds of when we switch over here. And but one of the things I was thinking about when you were talking about resilience, and I think in this time of global pandemic, is endurance, perseverance, how that all plays into hope. And so again, please type those answers in, and we're going to hear from those. We're going to cut over again to those offsite folks that were with us before. So let's tune into them.
Welcome to our remote studio in Sweden. I'm here with Sven. I'm Oli. We have been getting some chats in the group chat. A lot of people saying that the video isn't working perfectly for them. That may be a combination of the bandwidth or your internet speed. don't worry, you're here.
It's cold here in Sweden.
It is very cold.
And
here
the
in
Lodefest
Sweden.
is still steaming.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
This guy.
A lot of people saying they're happy to be here and they miss us. We do have one.
That's hope.
That is
hope. They miss us.
They do miss us.
Oh, because the whole time I was thinking they didn't even notice we were missing.
We do have one instance of hope that has been chatted in.
And maybe, Andrew, you could speak up just a little bit for us.
Absolutely. We just did get a couple of stories of hope that have been written in on the chat. One says, Isaac has texted in saying, not having online learning has been a source of hope in these times. Another, Julie and Nathaniel have texted in. They're saying they've seen and heard stories of togetherness and willingness to help each other. Carrie Jerome has chatted in. She's saying, working with teacher leaders the last 2 days and how we have come together to try and make school for our students while we mourn our favorite parts of our job, which is being with the students. Daphne Pons just chatted in. She thinks that what we are experiencing now with CLC is a story of hope where we can connect with each other and still be a church family.
Awesome.
And I'm hopeful the next time you come to our remote studio that the TSA will allow us to travel yet further around the globe.
Yeah.
We're hopeful for that too. So again, folks, you can keep typing those comments in to ways of being hope that Joe has kicked off with that. But what do you think, Joe?
Yeah, I mean, even just listening to what you all are sharing, that's inspiring me and giving me hope. And I think that something I've thought a lot about is that hope is also contagious. That we can spread. How can we organize ourselves in a ways that, you know, we're still practicing that social distancing, but we're also practicing spiritual connectedness. And we organize ourselves in a way where we are spreading our hope more fiercely than any virus can. That is my prayer. That is what I am committed to doing in this time, in this era. And I'm thinking about all these stories that I've already encountered. I'm kind of like scouring the internet and having conversations with friends and family and collecting these stories of hope. And I've seen ways where small businesses have gathered funds and food for those in need. I've seen members in my neighborhood who, you know, community members who've actually delivered food to those in need. I've seen grocery stores who have carved out specific hours exclusively for the elderly and those who have compromised immune systems so they can come in and get those needs and still be safe and still be healthy. I've seen folks who are being intentional about supporting Asian-owned businesses to counter racism and xenophobia that's been happening because this is a virus that's come from, you know, that what we're aware of, it has maybe started in China.
Sure.
But there's also, because of that, there's been some bigotry against folks of Asian descent. And so because of that, I've seen a lot of community members who are saying, we have no place for that here. And we're gonna intentionally support Asian restaurants and Asian businesses to show that we are in solidarity with them, that we love them and care for them. And so just the depth of intentionality that I've seen and the creativity, right? We think about how necessity is the mother of creativity. And in these dire times, there's been such an expression of creativity. And I'm as an artist, like I've already been writing and creating music. I've seen some of my artist friends have done live concerts. They're streaming, like playing the acoustic guitar and singing, just like we so beautifully heard at the beginning of the service from Chris. So a lot of that kind of stuff is being
maybe that's another question we could throw to the people out there what are ways that you might be exploring your own creativity, your creativity to inspire contagious hope and that sort of thing. So again, type that in. That's one of the reasons that we as CSC are using Zoom, is we want to be interactive. We want to hear from you. We know that right now we have you all muted, but that's sort of for everyone's sanity. And as we all get better at this, we hope to, unmute at times different people in order that we can hear your voices. But for tonight, we are going to just be typing into that chat, and we're going to head back over again to where Sven and Oli have been. And so give them some responses that they can read.
Well, we are nameless because we are now in Jamaica, and we haven't figured out in the travel plans how to change our passport names. But we were just talking here as we were thinking about your hometown in Jamaica and the Caribbean, and the folks in the Caribbean, how they experienced not that long ago natural disaster and how the hurricanes came through. And this is not just a Blaine pandemic. This is an international pandemic. And as we think about how we are struggling, even with the resources and abundance here in the States, we're mindful that there are hospitals across the Caribbean that have yet to have been rebuilt. There are homes that have yet to be rebuilt, and yet they are facing this same pandemic. We're going to turn to the chat and see if anything's come in yet.
We have had a couple more people text in about what is giving them hope right now, which is really awesome. We heard from Cindy White that she continues to be positive for her pre-K learners in this time of chaos. That is really awesome. We got a chat in from Sarah Korberg, our youth and young adult innovator, saying that the daily Zoom conversations with CLC youth, people willing to share resources with others, and doctors who call to check in on you are some huge things that are giving her hope right now.
Wow, that's awesome. Well, I know that a thing that's given me the biggest hope is that we have a staff here at Christ Lutheran Church that hasn't asked, how can I stay home, but instead has asked, how can we get the word of Christ into the homes of the families we serve? We also invite you to take the opportunity as you're talking to your neighbors, as you're talking to your community mates, online, virtually, or socially distanced, you can share these Zoom meetings and meetups with them. They can always be part of our community. There is room at Zoom for all. Back to you, Pastor Sarah.
Thank you both. Absolutely. And I want to say that we are just excited. Like I said, this is our second Zoom today, but second Zoom sort of publicly. And we're excited because right now there's 31 of you, at least, and some of you maybe are too on a device. And so there's more that have joined in. And we want to make sure that not just our community of faith, but as Pastor Kent said, this is for all. And to know that there is something every day of the week where we will have Zoom schedules. And so tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. is First Word. That'll be a short time. Andrew's hosting that tomorrow morning just to start a day centered on God. Also on, I believe, I don't have the schedule in front of me, all the typos or all the things we forget, but I believe on Tuesdays and Thursdays, there is Kids Zone, CLC Kids Zone with Andrew, and whether that's story, craft, combination of things, that's going to be wonderful. As we've heard referenced, 1 o'clock every day is time for virtual coffee hour. We also have other things coming up. The big one that you also want to mark on your calendar is Sunday, which will be our worship for the weekend, is at 10 a.m. on Sunday morning. And we will again be centered around a time of music and prayer and message and word and being in community with one another. So as we all have change in schedules, we hope that even if you're not in the same place where you are, we'll be in the day from now, that you have these Zoom dates. If you have questions, we know that there are kinks, and remember to be patient with yourselves as you are just as patient with us and figuring it out. We trust that we can get all to the point of being able to see and to hear as you're comfortable. But Joe, what kind of other things do you want to share with us tonight?
Yeah, so I'm trying to reframe what I've been experiencing as like an opportunity to slow down and to be more intentional and to listen and maybe develop some new practices and new rhythms in my life. And so, my wife works at the University of Minnesota. She's now working remotely. So her and I are working in the same space. And I saw like a funny meme online, and it said, if you and your partner are now finding yourselves working together, you should invent an imaginary colleague that you can blame everything on. And I thought that was really hilarious. But, I've been getting a lot of joy from like the humor, because I think it's important to at least have some space for humor in times like these, because laughter is medicine for the soul. But just looking at this time as an opportunity to develop new practices, new rhythms and new rituals, whether those are like spiritual practices of like prayer and scripture and meditation, or whether they're practices of just time with my wife that we don't necessarily always have.
Sure.
What are other practices that we can develop? Maybe we have yet to encounter some stories of hope, but what are new practices that we can develop in our lives that can lead to new stories of hope in our lives? And so I've been
having our eyes and hearts at that mindset of looking for hope.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And so what can we do in our lives to make space for that transformation to occur? And so, just thinking about practices, and that's, I guess that would be another question that I'm curious to hear from folks.
Sure.
Is, are there maybe, this being, a season of a lot of uncertainty, a lot of change, a lot of newness, but in the midst of that, is there an opportunity for practices? Like what's something new that you're doing, that you're kind of working into your schedule?
Yeah, so let's throw that back out to all of you. What is something new, or a practice, or something maybe you think you might delve into around spirituality, and what else?
Yeah, I think ultimately whatever it is that can lead to a new story of hope.
Yeah. So type that in, folks, and if you'd be even willing, we could test it out. If you'd be willing to go on, we'll unmute you, kind of type that into the comments, and we can see who that might be, just so that you could share with the rest of the community that. So I see that we have some chats that are coming in, so we're gonna kick it again back over to whomever is in our offsite studio this time. So let's see.
Oh, we're here in Houston. I believe I heard Brother Joe talk about humor and the need for humor. Funny, here on page 7, after a worship service at First Baptist Church in Newcastle, Kentucky, a mother with a fidgety 7-year-old boy told Pastor Dave Charlton how she finally got her son to sit still and be quiet. About halfway through the sermon, she leaned over and whispered, "If you're not quiet, Pastor Charlton is going to lose his place and we'll have to start the sermon all over again." Yeah,
that's a little better.
Sven and Ollie,
relate to that one.
In Jamaica. We're now in Houston, where the National Youth Gathering took place. It might be hard to tell in the swag that we're wearing, but that's okay. We got chats now.
We do. We have a few chats about new practices that people are using.
And turn towards the mic there, Andrew, for us.
Absolutely. So one thing that was texted in is people are using Zoom to connect spiritually. It's a whole brand new thing for us. It's a whole brand new thing for our congregation. That's really awesome. Daphne says that she's starting a quarantine check-in with her staff. She's encouraging them to think about things to be grateful for each day, ways to move or exercise in isolation and connect with nature. Someone in the Cosbab household talked about praying after they wake up and thanking God more for being healthy. Cindy White said, remembering that God has this. Absolutely.
Amen.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have anybody that's...
All the time.
All the time?
God is good.
Do you have anybody that's willing to be unmuted? Did they identify at all?
I haven't heard from anyone, but if you're willing to be unmuted, wave your hand right now.
I think Keith Finkelson was touching his face, which is a good reminder that you always have to remember while social distancing to be sanitized, even in close quarters.
That's some wet hand sanitizer.
You can't have enough hand sanitizer, I've got to tell you. Anyone else besides Keith? Thank you for sanitizing after that. He's smiling at me. I don't know if you can see his beautiful face there.
Pastor Kent, they'd like you to know that you look like a space cowboy right now.
Space cowboy. What's that song? Help me. Where's Chris O'Brien when you need her?
Rhinestone cowboy. Nope, that's not it either.
Okay, take it away, Chris.
Chat, scroll up and down for me so I can see who's online.
Okay, she's out.
I'm out.
It looks like Mish would love to be unmuted, and she's shaking her head no. So let's go to Mish. And
no. We'll go over to Sarah Korberg. I see her. And just so, and part of this, folks, we're doing this. We won't unmute you unless you want to, but we also want you to experience what it's like to not just hear us, right? You're not your news team that you're just not being able to interact with. And so as we continue to go, we want to you to experience that. So we're gonna hope that Sarah's gonna be joining us, and maybe she'll even have a brand new baby with her. So let's go ahead and unmute Sarah.
Let me go find her. I will have a brand new baby in a moment.
In a moment.
Oh, there it is, Sarah's phone.
I'm here. I miss everyone greatly. And here she is.
Oh, that's not her.
Hold on. Oh,
There she is.
there's the brand new baby.
Oh.
Miss, hold on. 3-week-old Haley.
Oh, precious.
And look who else is here.
And Grace. Hello, Grace.
Grace.
Everybody wave if they can see Grace.
Say hi. And Joe's here too.
Hi, Joe. How is your family doing, Sarah?
We are, living the newborn life in quarantine. It's a crazy time. I mean, kind of a lot has happened in 3 weeks, personally and health-wise and everything. But we're, living the dream. No, it's good. We're good. But I really do miss you guys tons.
We miss you too.
Tons and tons. And I wish I could just pack everyone up in the car and come visit, but
Well, fortunately, we're all quarantined ourselves, so we're all in that same boat. But thank you for being willing to give again further to our ongoing Zoom experience.
Oh,
and,
absolutely.
Sharing that, and so that we can see. So see, folks, it isn't really that scary to be unmuted, to show your surroundings. Right?
Yeah, see our messy house. It's great.
Yeah. And you know what? I hope one day I can Zoom in my pajamas. So folks, it's okay, right?
Yep.
Yeah. We're learning together.
Well, I think we're gonna turn back over to Joe if you have any final things. We might hear one more time from our off-site correspondents. I know that as we wind down tonight, one of the things we will share in song again. We'll invite you again to sing, and then we will Joe will close us out with one of his own original pieces of spoken word for tonight. But before we kind of transition to that, was there anything that you wanted to make sure you brought up tonight?
Yeah, I think for me and for all of us, this isn't just about individual hope or individual isolated experience. I think it's about collective hope. And how do we exercise this collective hope? How do we envision and embody the world that we're called to live into? Because I think we can share our individual hope and our individual experiences for the sake of the community, for the sake of that collective healing, and getting us closer to the vision that God has for us as people of faith. And it can be really uncertain sometimes, but I think the more we're able to practice it together, like just the way that we're doing it now, you do best what you do most. So the more practice we get in, the more we get our reps in, the better we'll get at it. And so this right here is an opportunity for us to practice cultivating that hope together, individually and for the sake of the collective. And so just always keeping in mind that that's what this is about. And I think because of like my faith, I do have hope that we're going to be all right.
Absolutely. So. Well, thank you. And I know that our offsite correspondents just want to greet you one more time. We'll get Chris set up with our song here, but let's go back over to those wonderful duo.
Oh, we're unmuted.
We're unmuted. Wow. Yeah. So,
you do have to pay attention.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that we were really noticing is we were kind of going through on the different computers. We're watching who's on and who's not on. And it's been really kind of fun to see everyone. And one of the things that we really noticed was how closely people are really paying attention. And that really is just humbling. I know often if I have the TV on in the background, it's in the background and I'm not paying attention. But that makes me think a lot about how this social networking and this video conferencing is a real true connection. When they talk about it being virtual, it reminds me more of Luther talking about real presence. It's not just some symbolic church that is just a nice symbol that's fancy out there. And it's not some actual true physical gathering together as the people of God. It's that we are all gathering here virtually, trusting in that real presence, that Christ is showing up right where we're at with everything we need and reminding us that God is with us. And one of the things that we were talking about is we wanted to prepare for the worship service here in our remote studio. So do you have a candle?
I do. I found this in the closet. I think it's from Christmas Eve. It's one of these.
Does the battery work?
Let's see. Sort of. It's weak.
That's not a candle. That's a candle.
Oh. So what we're going to invite you to do is if you can find a candle in your own home in the next few minutes, we're all going to light our candles together at the end of worship tonight. Back to you in the Zoom studio, Pastor Sarah.
Thank you. And if you had any final chats, know that those will get answered probably by chat from Andrew and Pastor Kent. You can see we've got Chris O'Brien back here with us. The song that we're going to end tonight is related to what Joe was really talking about as far as, yes, our hope, but the collective hope that we have, and our collective hope as a people of faith and a people rooted in God's hope for us, God's faithfulness to us, God's enduring presence in no matter what we experience in times of uncertainty and even in our own times of certainty, but that collectiveness that we all have. So the song that we're going to close with is We Are One in the Spirit. And for some of you, it might be familiar, maybe for some not, but just the first verse, so at least you kind of know, is we are one in the Spirit, we are one in the Lord. We are one in the Spirit, we are one in the Lord, twice. And we pray that all unity may one day be restored, and they'll know we are Christians by our love, and they'll know we are Christians by our love. Chris, was there any other intro for us?
I would just say, if you're a singer, sing. If you just need a quiet moment with music playing, just let it happen that way.
And then again, we're going to have Joe come back, and he's going to share his original work, and then we'll sign off for the night. So we join together now in this more kind of winding down, ending part of our time together here, but also laying our days into God's hands and our nights as well.
We are one in the Spirit. We are one in the Lord. We are one in the Spirit. We are one in the Lord. And we pray that all unity may one day be restored. And they'll know we are Christians by our love, by our love. Yes, they'll know we are Christians by our love. We will work with each other. We will work side by side. We will work with each other. We will work side by side. And we'll guard each one's dignity and save each one's pride. And they'll know we are Christians by our love, by our love. Yes, they'll know we are Christians by our love. And they'll know we are Christians by our love.
Beautiful. Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that. Thank you. And I just want to share a closing piece, a short spoken word poem. As I think about these times we're living in, for me, it's been a powerful reminder of how interconnected we are, and how interdependent we are. And I look at these flames, and I like to think of how we all have the spark. I just came to fan the flame, so that we can all just have that fire of hope burning wherever we go. And my hope is that this piece can be a continual reminder of our interconnectedness and how we can spread that hope one to the other when we recognize that we're all in this together. When we say everyone, who do we really mean? That's what this piece asks, is who is your everyone? Who is your everyone? Is it only those in the country you were born in, or migrant workers whose customs and cultures may seem foreign? Is it only those in our church Sunday morning, or the non-religious, or Jews, or Muslims, or Mormons? With who does our everyone begin or end? Is it only those with our zip code, our language, our skin? Can our vision extend beyond us versus them towards a bridge of love where true justice bends, where all our walls crumble and fall between those people who make us feel so uncomfortable? Different and distant, they seem so unlovable. But come closer, you'll discover that God loves them too. No more or no less, but just as much as you. This is the truth we often may forget. There's a table that offers all a place to sit. That, the transformational relationship when we celebrate everyone's human sacredness. For we are them and they are us, all created in God's image. Who is your everyone? Amen.
Beautiful.
Amen. Thank you,
Amen.
Joe. Thank you to all of you for joining before we close tonight. And want to say, though, that before you sign off, this is kind of the end of the formal program of this Wednesday night. But perhaps you want to be unmuted. Perhaps you want to share your own holy hilarity joke. Maybe you have a better joke than Sven or Oli. We're going to facilitate just that informal time of conversation. So again, this is the ending of the formal time, but this is also a place where we can hang out via chat and other things. So we're going to kick it back over to that
After party.
After party. That is right. Social distance after party. And we'll kick it back over to Andrew. Peace be with you all. We'll see you again soon.
We're going to get unmuted. Oh, we are unmuted now officially. And we wanted to, before we open it up, the chat line's open, and Andrew is working hard working the chat line. We have upcoming schedule, just to share a little bit about tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. is First Word. If you have not been away to sleepaway camp in a Christian setting, it usually means kind of like the whole camp either starts in a Bible study, sometimes a cabin starts in a Bible study. First Word is going to be on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. Monday, Thursdays, and Saturdays, my bad. And at 9 a.m. Tomorrow morning at 9 a.m., Andrew will be on just to share a brief 10-15 minute start to the day. Kids time is going to be Tuesday and Thursday at 10 a.m. Who knows what Andrew is up to? Thankfully, Andrew provided much props for tonight. So we had plenty to keep us going here in our remote locations. Virtual youth group is every day at 1 p.m. 1 p.m. for youth group. We had some questions, Andrew. What's a youth group? Because I saw someone on there with their AARP membership card.
Well, it's young at heart, really, Pastor Kent. So we did have Miles join us today. He's a little older. We didn't want to, break his heart and tell him he was too old to join the chat. So we just let it slide.
Okay, but what if you, like, youth sometimes here at Christ Lutheran means 9th through 12th grade. Sometimes it means 6th through 12th grade. What does it mean to you?
So we're looking at 6th grade through college age. If you're in that age range, hop on. We'll be happy to see you.
And kids time, then what do you see as that age range?
So that would be anywhere from birth to 5th grade.
Birth to 5th grade is the kids time. So we have those two different times. Don't forget about Wednesdays. We will continue our 10:30 Bible study virtually with Pastor Sarah. Holy Grounds on Friday at 10 a.m. And we're not 100% sure what the description of that is yet, but we're just kind of finding out how to do Zoom in all different ways. And if you have been at Christ Lutheran Church longer than, let's say, a few years, you probably have met Grace Marie. Grace Marie is our local nun who has transferred her membership from the Catholic Church to Christ Lutheran Church. She shows up regularly at every worship service in different ways, but when she shows up as Grace Marie, it's a special way. So if you know Grace Marie, or if you have not yet experienced Grace Marie, we encourage you on Tuesday and Thursday at 2:30 p.m. to check that out. A reminder that all of this is posted on our website at clcblaine.org. I'll get that right yet. Here's the other great news. We have something so cool going on our campus, and that's called our new phone system. So the first caller tonight that calls Christ Lutheran Church at 763-784-3300 and gets to my extension 3403 will win a prize. But so we'll see who that makes that phone call. In the meantime, Andrew's taking some chats.
If you would like to be unmuted to chat to us, just give me a note in the group chat. Right now, it looks like the Cosbabs want to be unmuted. So we'll unmute them quick and say hi. In a moment here.
We're in remote location. There they are. Hi, Cosbabs.
Hi.
So what would you like to say?
This is basically a hybrid extended spring break, and it's boring.
Boring. Well,
yeah, that's the best part about
us. There's nothing boring about Zooming with us, is there?
No, the only non-boring part is Zooming and playing on my Xbox.
Here's the interesting.
We made him clean his room today. That's boring.
You guys you might be able to hear this. The rest of them can't. I hear the front phone ringing, which means someone's trying to get through. And any second now, the new soft phone on my iPhone will ring, and we'll find out how that first caller got into Pastor Kent and who it is. So stay tuned.
All right, we still don't have, or we don't have anyone else in the chat, but if you're having trouble chatting and you want to talk to us, just wave your hand. We'll watch for you.
I think I see Charlotte Grace's hand up at the Lee family.
Oh, I do too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. She just put it up
looks
there.
like she's on her phone right now.
She's on her phone.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Mhm.
Okay.
Let's
Trying to call me.
Let's unmute.
She's the one.
Unmute the Lee family.
Oh, boy. Let's unmute that Lee family. Hello, Lee family. How are you?
We thought it was understanding we would have to agree to be unmuted.
Yeah, well, I agreed for you. How's that?
Well, Charlotte is very busy at the moment trying to handle the new phone line. Did you get?
Yes. She hasn't reached the cell phone yet, so that's good.
It's weird.
Let's see. Carrie Jerome. Carrie Jerome's waving her hand. Chance, mute that Lee family. Let's get Carrie Jerome on up here. Carrie Jerome. Yeah, Carrie Jerome. There you go. Where's Carrie? Okay, Chance.
Oh, there's
Carrie. Hey, Carrie. Good to see you.
Nice to see you guys.
How was it working here at Christ Lutheran Church on our internet today?
It was great. Thanks for having me. I got a lot of stuff done, so Nathaniel doesn't have to be bored anymore.
Fantastic. And you're a school teacher?
Yes.
Wow. And so how are things how are you hearing from your school district and all that?
Anoka Hennepin is getting ready to do distance learning on March 30th.
Carrie, I've got to tell you, it looks like my daughter finally got in.
Yay.
On my phone. Let me see if she's there. Is that you, Charlotte? Oh, I'm going to put you on speakerphone.
Hello.
That's Charlotte. She called in to the church phone line, got to my extension, and that got called here to my cell phone. That's the new soft phone system that we now have working here at Christ Lutheran Church. Fantastic. I can't wait to show you what you won. We have lots of cleaning.
Oh, no.
In your room. Have a good evening. All right. Let's see. Who else is here? Who's chatting again? Oof. From Julian Nathaniel. I'm not sure what oof means, but we'll keep going. Well, thank you, everyone. It looks like a number of people are signing off here. How about we say a final prayer?
Sounds great.
Go for it, Andrew.
Dear God, hold us together as a community tonight. Thank you for this amazing opportunity to use technology just to hear your word and gather. God, we thank you so much for Joe Davis and everything that he is doing both at CLC and in the community. God, we ask for your peace tonight. In your name we pray.
Amen. Yeah, we should probably say, Chance, you can now mute us. Good to see you. We'll see you on Zoom.